Well, welcome to Tipsy Testing, everyone. It's nice to see you again. We try to get together on Friday and wrap up the week in a pleasant and fun way. We've had a great number of guests so far. We're looking forward to having Rick Baucom today. Rick is from Software Test Professionals. He started his working career at an ice cream shop in Old Town Alexandria, so he's from our neck of the woods.
Oh, wow.
That's right.
Isn't that great?
Right.
Then he did a stint at the National Gallery of Art in DC cleaning earpieces for tour tape recorder units, which, you brave soul.
You got to do it, right?
But cool. How cool to have a job at the National Gallery. That's something. Then he spent many years as a bike mechanic, first at the Bicycle Exchange in Alexandria, where he was for 12 years, and then helping to open the first big box bike shops up and down the East Coast. So then this East Coast guy moved himself out to Colorado, and he's been cabinet making and then in IT and now with association management, which is now Software Test Professionals. And they run a great conference. And I'm going to let you, Rick, talk about your fun fact.
Oh, well, you know, it's funny you mentioned the bike shop. That was kind of my first. I was brought under the wing of a gentleman named Jim Elwig, whom I still love and adore. And he taught me more things in the time that I worked for him at Bikes USA and Bicycle Exchange. We changed the name to Bike USA when we went national. And you know, that was the last place my father was stationed. He's an Air Force. I'm an Air Force brat. And so I was born here in Colorado. I returned to Colorado. But I did spend a lot of my time growing up out there out east. But my fun fact, I really enjoy making videos. I don't know, a lot of people probably have seen some of my videos that I do for Software Test Professionals. When I'm introducing a new location, you know, I go on a site visit and I talk about it and this, that, and the other. But it's always been a kind of a passion of mine for many, many years, even back when I was splicing VHS tapes together to edit stuff. Now it's much easier. I can do everything digitally and add effects and all sorts of stuff like that. But during this whole, you know, thing that we have going on now, I've been trying to, for my friends specifically on Facebook, just put up funny videos that basically just take their mind off of everything that's going on, but also at the same time kind of laugh at ourselves that are being stuck at home and what do you do and those kind of things and how do you live your life but in an amusing fashion. So I've done a few of those for my Facebook friends and family, and I've gotten some pretty good responses so far. So I just like doing it. It's just fun. Try to make people laugh, tell stories. That's what my whole life has always been about. So yeah.
Rick,
Cool.
can I put your example that you sent me into the chat window?
Oh sure, yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, there's that one, and there's a few others. That's my home cooking show. My wife, she's from the South. She's from Mobile, Alabama, and cookbooks are a big thing down there. And when her mom passed, we got one, and you'll see the title in the video. You should watch it. It's pretty funny.
Excellent.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
All right, so we have Rick with us today, and I'd like to introduce Adam, our host and Director of Technology with Inflectra. Adam Sandman has been a programmer since the age of 10. He's been working in the IT industry for the past 20 years, and as I mentioned, he's the Director of Technology at Inflectra, where he's interested in technology, business, and innovation. And Adam, I want you to tell us about your fun fact.
Wow, and I do this every week, so I have to think of new fun facts every week because I've gone through some of the other fun. So my ratio of fun to unfun is probably diminishing. So I'm going to have to lowball this fun fact.
You're flattening your curve, I see.
Yeah, I'm flattening my curve of fun factness. So those who know me know I'm not a particularly burly buff guy. Not really. My son is more than I am. But I did at one point in university work at British Steel. I worked in a steel company for three months. And this is the place where they have these big molten ladles. They're called ladles. A ladle is like the size of probably a room of your house, full of liquid steel. And the guys who drive the cranes, they're moving them over ahead of you. And you wear this metal suit, and they tell you that if this thing drops, you know you're done. Doesn't matter what you're wearing. That liquid metal hits you. The thermal shock will kill you outright. I mean, it's better that way because you'll die screaming. But
Grim.
these same, this is a true story. These same crane drivers, these crazy crane drivers, they're in the cafeteria at lunchtime, and they're drinking booze, they're drinking beer, and they're like knocking it back. I'm out there the next day on the floor watching these things go overhead. And the guy was said, I don't care what they say in the management, you don't walk under those things. If that thing's going overhead, you get them out the way and you stay away. After that, I decided a career in IT was a much better thing. That's my fun fact.
I would agree with that. I got to tour one of those one time, and it was so unbelievably hot. I couldn't imagine working in that on a daily basis. It's nuts.
Yeah. And they once blew up. Actually, one more thing. They once blew up something red, like red iron ore, and every sheep and poodle in southern Wales went black, bright red that day because all the dust landed on everything. So yeah, they're horrible places. British Steel, don't recommend. Sorry, British Steel. It was a good internship. No thanks.
Yeah, I'm sure their stock is dropping now as we speak.
They were sold to Tata years ago.
Right. And I forgot to introduce myself when we started. I'm Jessica Moore. I'm the customer success manager at Inflectra. I've been there for about 15 months or so, and it's been an amazingly fun place to work. I came out of government prior to that, and I like to sew. So in this time of everyone being at home and not being able to go anywhere, all of my pillows have gotten a fresh spring cover.
Very nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Have you baked bread yet, though? That's the question.
Yes, we did.
Oh, yeah, okay. Everybody's baking bread. Yeah, it's just
My
like
son's
a normal
making
thing now.
dough and ice cream and things. Yeah.
Yeah, the fun thing is trying to track down the flour and the yeast, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been baking?
My neighbor is actually he makes bread all the time. So before this all started, he actually ordered a large amount of yeast, and so he tells us, "You guys need yeast? Come over and get some yeast. I got plenty of yeast." So
don't publish the address. Don't publish the address. They're gonna come get you.
You have a source.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, let's go ahead and get started with the question. We have a few that were posted in advance today. And we'll start with one from Arlene Andres. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Sorry if I didn't, Arlene. There are so many options for virtual meetings. What would be your ideal one for a hallway track? Hallway.
Okay. That's an interesting question. What I'm assuming she means by hallway is that the hallway interactions that take place in a normal conference. Would you guys agree with that? Did you think that's
That was kind of my taking.
Yeah. That, as far as some of the technology that I've seen, I think that would be a little difficult to pull off, but I think it might be something that you could do through a chat. Almost like a chat room where you've got several different people in there typing in their interests or what they want to talk about and those kind of things. And then those people could go and do a private chat room or a private video conference like FaceTime or Zoom or something like that. That would probably work, I imagine. Now, how you could package that into some tool, that would be a good question. But and I can't say that I've seen that tool to date. I don't know if you've seen it, Adam.
I mean, we've done a few virtual events so far, and it's tricky. I mean, obviously the scale of the event makes it more or less easy. So I've done an event where we had a bunch of people who were speakers, and the speakers were on a Zoom call, and we did a session before the main event where we did literally everyone's a tile, and we're all talking about ourselves a little bit. I felt I had a little bit of connection with some of the speakers at the event because that's a small group of about 10 people. But to simulate what you get in a hallway when you have people randomly walking past and they see something and ask you a question, that impromptu is difficult. The typing chat ones I've seen at some of the events, I'm not going to name the events we've been to, but they had some kind of virtual booth with a chat window. I don't think we really didn't get that level of interaction. People might have written a comment, you might write one back, but they've kind of already moved on already. I think a text-based chat system doesn't anywhere near replicate what you get at the virtual live event. I mean, if everyone had Oculus headsets, could we do something in VR? Now that's potentially the game changer. Is if we can do Oculus VR. And I will mention this, it's not directly conferences, but someone was looking at one of our software tools and we're asking, what do you do for a living? What's your business? And it was like, oh, we do VR concerts. It's in a company in London. And what they're doing is you wear this Oculus type headset and then you can be sitting at the front row of a Wembley Stadium watching the Rolling Stones from your house. And it gives you the fully immersive experience.
That's very cool.
So, I mean, I don't know how much at Oculus, could you have the point where people start to have more VR experiences, but even with a webcam, I mean, could we have it so that you can actually walk around the physical event in real time and literally I could see your booth. I could see an avatar of Adam and Jessica and, you know, Rick could be walking around introducing us. I mean, that technology is not that far off. Maybe it exists if we could find it, but something where you can see the person and interact and feel like you're moving and being able to take unanticipated directions would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
If we're relying on text, then it's like email, it's work, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think there's been some things. I used to work in my past association management type stuff. One of the large companies that we worked with was a gaming company, and they had a major platform that was a virtual world where you would build your avatar and you could walk around and visit different worlds, and you could walk up and interact with different avatars, and you'd have a proximity thing where you were close enough to this avatar you could actually speak with your microphone, your headset, like you're wearing, Adam. And that would be kind of interesting. I did go into that world a few times, and some of the avatars were a little sketchy and risque. So you know, maybe something adapted for the business world might be either that or everybody's a stick figure or something along.
I was just wondering. I mean, I just literally threw, and I know this question is only meant to be one question, but can you rent a private cloud instance of something like, I don't know, like a Doom or a Halo, or because if you had a gamification, imagine that you could rent Halo or any of the one-player shooter games, but instead of shooting bullets, you shoot like swag. But basically you're using the graphics engine. It doesn't matter what the visuals are. You're using the engine is what's expensive and hard to manufacture. But people like PlayStation, they already have these platforms. We already have.
What comes to mind is Minecraft.
Yes.
Because then you could build your own conference hall.
Can you actually have a private Minecraft? Or is it always public? Can you create?
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, you totally do. They call them realms. You rent them for. Yes, InflectraCon, Minecraft. They rent these servers out. Minecraft does. They're called realms. I could actually probably bring my nephew in here and he'd explain it. But he owns a realm, and all his buddies, they all go there and they all play in a safe environment, free of I guess you could call other people tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So something like that could be done. Of course, everybody has to have Minecraft that's joining your realm and understand how to do it and make their little avatar and those kind of things. But yeah, sure, why not?
I'm having a good idea here, Jessica. Anyway, don't tell
Simon. I like it, Adam. I'd like to explore that with you.
I mean, maybe for STPCon or InflectraCon, I mean, it could be something where, because that's what we really missed at those virtual booths, is that immersive experience that, I mean, you can't replicate what we have in real life, but since we can't be in real life and potentially we don't know how long for, the closer we can get to something that's immersive and non-text based, non-work based feeling will be, because that emotional connection will be great.
Yeah, the only thing I think would be the challenge would be a proximity voice, because I think on that server when people talk, everybody hears. So that would be a cacophony of conversations going on.
How are you different to the name of the tool? And you're like, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I can't remember that. And I think they actually shut it down. I don't know why, but I do remember that. It was a big deal back in, what was that, 2005 or 2004, but anyway.
Interesting. Okay, we'll have to explore that.
Yeah, never know.
That would be something that's so unique. Every one of these conferences is an opportunity to try something different. And I think people are trying to explore different ways. I know, Rick, you're going to SOSCon, and the guest we had a couple of weeks ago, Paul Grisafi, is also going to SOSCon. There are different, and we've looked at a lot of different websites, and people are taking all sorts of different approaches. But adding an injection of something that's not just work-based, that's, you know, engaging in a different kind of way, that Minecraft is hugely popular. That could be a lot of fun.
You know, right now I'm sure there's some 13-year-old developer here on the Tipsy testing, probably coding one right now, so he can make $1 million. And
When you have it ready, let us know.
Yeah,
I'll be down for it.
Is your nephew working on it?
Yeah, I'll get my nephew and my boys on it right away. I've got 3 boys here. They should be able to figure something out.
Are they coders or gamers or both?
You know, they're all, you know, well, my one son is a bit of a coder. He does a little bit of HTML, and he's starting to dabble with PHP, but they're all, you know, of course, gamers. You know, that's all these guys do anymore, it seems. But yeah.
Yes, my son.
To that.
Cheers.
Well, let's move on to another question. Here's one from Vinyak Titi, and that Vinyak asks, "What is the future of testing?" It's a wide open one.
Oh my God.
That's actually a question I hear all the time, right? I mean,
the future of testing. Do you want me to answer that one? I guess.
You this is all you, man.
It's my bailiwick. Future of testing. And he said something. Blimey, mate. That's what I'm going to say. The future of testing is probably going to be somewhat not unlike the past of testing. I know that some people say AI is going to replace everything, automation is going to replace everything. I think automation, AI, all that stuff has a role. And I think people like Michael Bolton, who are often at all of the events I go to, he always says that testing is about what's in your brain, not what's at your fingertips. And I think that's very true. I mean, a lot of what's testing is trying to find things find risk in something, what doesn't work. I think it does depend, though. The future of testing will depend on what are the users of our systems. So if the users of our systems are humans, then humans are going to need to spend a large part of the time making sure that something is safe for another human. So really, you're like a safety inspector as a tester. Machines may test everything robotically, but at some point, if someone's going to sit in this machine or use this website or use this Tesla car or anything that potentially that may be safety or just usable, a tax application, humans are going to have to make sure that it's fit for a human to use. So I think testing is always going to be a combination of automated stuff that you do to make sure it works at a basic level, but a human to make sure it's usable for a human. But there is also software increasingly that's being written for other pieces of software. So an API, a chatbot, a transaction system that's being called by an online ticketing website. Software that's being used by other pieces of software may not need so much humans to be involved in the testing. A human might set the parameters, define the objectives, but then it lets it run and test itself potentially. The third view of testing is that you let the users test it, and or that you're always going to find things that your users are testing anyway, like the chaos engineering concept, where you accept there's going to be problems and you build for failure. Like Netflix pulls out servers every day, sees what breaks, and builds around it. So I think testing is going to be a lot of different things. I do think security and risks are two of the things that people are seeing more of. As we see everyone working from home more, you hear more scamming, more hacking. That within a week of us being locked down, someone hacks the WHO website, and everyone who's been involved with vaccine research gets their email hacked. People are working from home, so businesses are, oh well, we can't use VPN because they're at home. We have to, unharden our environments. So as we do that and make things more accessible to people working in different places, we're potentially increasing our attack surface area. So I do think security and risk and disaster recovery are new areas that will be the future of testing that we aren't currently doing today.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points there. I always go back to, well, a lot of people do, but I always go back to that, the GTAC 2011 opening keynote where I forget the gentleman's name, Alberto something, said test is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that he's had numerous videos after that to basically try to to help explain that, but that freaked a lot of people out, and it set Twitter afire and those kind of things. And I don't think that was in 2011. We're now in 2020, and the only thing I've seen in those last few years is that testing has become more important. The skill level has increased dramatically. The amount of knowledge you have to have on systems and this, that, and the other has increased. And so I think, testing professionals are, in my opinion, some of the most smartest people I've met. They're incredibly good at finding fault, which, every time I send an email out, I get 5 or 6 emails back saying I misspelled something. But that's beside the point. It's one of those things where I don't think, people are always worried about the future of testing and where it's going to go. I agree with you. I think the AI is going to be important. Automation is going to be important, but it's never going to, the human factor is never going to go away. Never. Just can't. So.
Right. Well, because humans are at least involved in designing things, and we're fallible. So the only people who can figure out what we did is us.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we write the requirements, we miss, and inevitably the requirements are often half wrong. It's only because we read what we did and we realize, oh, when I wrote that, I didn't mean that. It's hard. So because of that, we're the root cause of the problem. So we must be at the root cause of the solution.
Yep. That's a good question.
Well,
I can hear that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a couple of questions from our good friend and partner, Bob Johnston, who's with us today, Bob from Critical Logic. And the first one leads right into where I was going to head anyway, which is, what are we drinking today? So, Rick, can you tell us about what you're drinking today?
Yes, I can actually. And I kind of selected this as almost a nod to Inflectra. I am drinking a rye whiskey. This is actually Axe and Oak Mountain, if you can see it, Colorado Mountain Incline Rye.
Wow.
This is actually distilled right down the street from my house here in Colorado Springs. These people are great. It's a small business, small craft whiskey. They do a bourbon. They do this rye. They also do a clear kind of they call it Mountain Shine. It's an unaged. It's moonshine basically. But this particular whiskey is just absolutely delicious. The rye whiskey, I tend to lean toward ryes. And the reason why I say a nod to Inflectra, because actually there were 2 states back in the 1700s which were important to distilling and rye specifically, and that's Pennsylvania and Maryland, where you guys are. Mm-hmm. It's a great tasting, delicious, a little bit spicy, peppery, not so sweet. The bourbons are generally a little more sweet. The ryes tend to add a little bit of kick and funk to a drink, especially Adam, probably with what you're drinking, I imagine.
Mm-hmm. Can you get that outside of Colorado, or is it only limited to this state right now?
It's limited to the state. They actually can ship outside of the state, but they have to ship it to a person with a liquor license. So if you wanted, you could go on their website, and that's axeandtheoak.com, and you can order it, and they'll ship it to a local liquor store for you, and then you can go pick it up. Yeah.
If Maryland, unfortunately, the Maryland, especially the Montgomery County where we are, liquor system is very government-run and bureaucratic. I don't know. We could try.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to come out there later this summer, Adam, and I'll bring you a couple of bottles of this for you. We'll meet up. We'll meet up somewhere with masks on.
Hopefully at that point, with the bubble, you're allowed to have like a bubble of. Some countries in Europe actually are doing this already. They're going from bubble of household to household plus one. So it's like the next level. No, I mean, like in Germany, I was speaking to people in Germany today, on a Gardiner guy on an analyst call, and he was saying, "Oh, yes, it's great. We can now." Sorry to use a bad accent. But we can now meet people outside our household. Of the 10 people, we can now meet other households, and they're slowly. And that's why here is the future in Europe, is they're moving from a single bubble, which is your household, but to one or two other like authorized bubbles. Not like everyone everywhere like we were before, but like you have 2 or 3 good friends, you can see them repeatedly, because that way the risk exposure. So I think it's like risk management. You're slowly expanding the circle, but it's not like all out in the wild.
Yeah, I have a bubble of neighbors right here. There's Matt across the street. There's Robert right next door. And all of us hang out on a regular basis, and we've been staying away from each other, but we've also been talking about getting back together, because they also enjoy a whiskey every now and then. And of course, I do have to mention that it is 2:25 here in Colorado.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Adam and Jessica are making me have a drink at 2:25, so pretty much my day is over fast this interview. So.
Rick, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've been to that bar. So I guess I'll go next. I'm having a bullet rye. This was, and as a software tester, we tested this at Star West. We had, Jessica, you were there, right? We did the triple testing.
Yep.
We did a testing of a bullet rye, a Crown Royal Manhattan, a bullet rye Manhattan, a Crown Royal Manhattan, and I think it was a Knob Creek. It was a bourbon Manhattan. We did all three. We didn't know which was which. We swapped them around the table, and we all tried them all. And only the bartender knew which was the right one. And we said, this is our favorite, and we all picked the rye. So I bought a bottle of rye. So this is the bullet rye. It's a decent, solid rye. It was on sale in the Montgomery County liquor store in Kensington, so that's why I chose that one. But actually, I've had it before. It is very good. It's solid, and it's a smaller producer, I think, versus Knob Creek, which is really Jim Beam.
Yep.
So I like this one.
Yeah, they're all
in case you were
giant
wondering,
conglomerates.
that is the beer we're testing.
Yes, that is. Well, we were hoping to do the same thing at the next event. If it hadn't gone cancelled, we were going to do a gin martini testing, but we've been thwarted for a year.
Well, we can increase our bubble collectively, Adam, around here, and then we'll be able to, our bubble can increase to you, Teresa, and myself, and then we can do more cocktail tasting.
That's true. And what are you drinking, Jessica?
I'm drinking a Negroni today in support of our local brewery, which sells a lot of different varieties of beer and cocktails to go now that you can't go inside. My husband went to pick up some beer the other day and came home with like a second mortgage's worth of cocktails. We have,
man after my own heart right there. I get in trouble doing that too.
Which is
for one
but it's a
bottle
delicious
of wine, and you came back with 3 bottles of whiskey and beer and everything else. That's about it.
Campari, right. Where did he go, by the way? Which one?
He went to, shout out to Silver Branch Brewery at the Silver Spring Metro in downtown Silver Spring.
That's
Okay.
3
Great
minutes.
carry-out beer, great carry-out cocktails.
3 minutes from my office.
Hey.
And I'm actually one. I still go to the office a couple times a week to keep an eye on servers and things, so I could always sneak back. Okay, very cool. That's good to know.
Highly recommend.
We do have some questions, by the way, from Bob online. If you want to read one of these.
Yes, this was the next place I was going to go. This is Bob's second question. Bob, thanks for being so engaged. Rick, this is a question for you. What do you see as trends and challenges in SQA in the coming couple of years?
Software quality assurance, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. And I always preface my answers by saying I'm a marketing guy. But the challenges and those kind of things, from what we see is, when we're talking to our community of folks that help us out, selecting workshops and sessions and those kind of things, it's the same, it's the same message you always hear. It's like doing more with less. It's trying to get things done faster with fewer people, and we're certainly finding that out a lot these days. I know, unfortunately, one of the actually things I'm working on right now is a new job board for software test professionals, because we've heard from a lot of our community that there's been a lot of layoffs and those kind of things in the software industry. So I think a lot of companies are going to be trying to turn the screws on dollars and make sure that people are getting things done. But there's always the challenge of that, making sure that you're finding all the bugs in the fastest and most efficient way you can, at the same time avoiding those big mistakes that might cost the company a lot of money. Adam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's very true. The trends, some of it's similar to the last question, what's the future of testing? But the trends in testing, the trend seems to be more automation and more freeform all at the same time. So I think what I've noticed is that when we started testing, providing testing tools, everyone was talking about scripted manual testing, which is, let's take a human and make them work like a robot. And I think what we found is that as we make the robots smarter, the automated testing tools get better, cheaper, although automation is still not where it should be. People are still failing more than they should doing automation. But because you're able to do some automation, in theory, you're freeing up the humans to do more really human testing, not manual testing. Literally, I remember when I started doing testing, we had our poor testers. We could say, here's your spreadsheet, here's your 100 steps, go through it, click here, do. I mean, you literally make a robot, and yet that's what automation is good at. And yet, so we now have our testers do things like, well, try and do what you do in your normal job, and we'll watch you. And that's a much more useful type of testing, which is you're going to use this system next month anyway. Use it like you would next month, and we'll watch you and see what you find trouble with, versus you going through our pre-written checklist like a computer. So I've noticed that there's more automation and there's more manual, but it's just they're different. I think the challenge is treat a computer like a computer, treat a human like a human. Don't make a computer try and do a human's job. Don't make a human do a computer's job. And that, I think, is the challenge.
Agreed. Well put.
Well, thanks. It's my second glass of whiskey, so who knows at this point?
Yeah, no, we're on a roll here.
Maybe your answer is more creative because of that.
Yes, I used to code some of our software when I had a few drinks. So we won't tell anyone that. Oh shoot, it's on recording. Just kidding. Coding gets better the more you drink. Yeah. Until it doesn't.
Rick, why don't we start with you on this one? What is your prognosis or prediction of how the current situation will affect the way we do business, and maybe even specifically to how you guys are doing business?
Well, okay, so one of the things I've been working from home for a very long time, about 8 years now, and I see folks, kind of struggling with that. Everybody's going to figure it out, but I think that in the current situation, it's really hard for everybody just to be all of a sudden thrust into working at home. And specific to my area of business, specifically in events. It's been a struggle for us trying to navigate, trying to understand how we can hopefully all one day get back together and shake each other's hands. Maybe we won't be doing that anymore, but looking at somebody in the eye and having a good conversation with them, attending a conference with your peers and those kind of things. And so those things are just really really hard issues that we're kind of waiting on. What's going to happen in the world as a whole, and how we're going to be, have to react to those things, and hopefully, come out of this on top. So I think from our perspective, from an event perspective, we're kind of sitting back and kind of trying to watch and understand and see what different companies are doing and those kind of things, and see if we can change the things that we're doing to hopefully help out and get folks learning on their spare time, which is primarily what we're all about. So I hope that answered the question. I think I went a little bit off on that one. That was my best politician answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess for our business, I mean, so how have we been affected by the current business? We're a software company, so I think we're actually, I mean, I'll be honest, we're lucky. We're more fortunate. I think trading companies, consulting firms, they have a harder part because so much of their business is hands-on and tactile. A lot of our business was always remote. I mean, we sell software, we do demos, we have support tickets, we have sales calls. We've always done most of these things remotely because we're a smaller company and we have customers spread so thinly. When we first started out, we would do everything by WebEx and actually, or now GoToMeeting. But actually, it's interesting. When we started out, there was a lot of pushback. Customers were like, "Well, can't you come visit us to our site and do a demo on site?" We're like, "Well, the price we're charging, the airfare would eat the entire profit margin of the entire deal. So no." and that's the way the world has moved. If you look at where we started in 2007, 6, when we started the company, much software was still sold face to face. And then you have the rise of, a lot of the SaaS players have moved everything towards, you don't expect that now. Unless you're a huge enterprise, most software is not sold face to face. It's sold, you go online, you search it, you sign up for it, you get a trial version, and then you like it, you pay for it, and it becomes permanent. That's the way we do business. But actually 13 years ago, we started Inflectra, that wasn't the case. So the world has really moved from a software standpoint to make this current environment much more tenable. The other trend I have seen incredibly fast in 3 months is any clients who said 3 months ago, we will never go to the cloud. we are going to be an on-premises customer of yours,
Yeah.
and then turn around and say, we need to be on the cloud because our users are now at home and they can't get to our firewall, and we need to be on the cloud tomorrow. How fast can we give you our database and go cloud? I am serious. All over Europe, people in Switzerland, Germany, they would rather like donate their arm than give you data in the cloud. Then I'm like, oh, okay, take both arms. I don't care anymore. You can, seriously, it's incredible. We've had customers all over the world who previously would never, you never think of them as going cloud. They're like, oh no, we have to do cloud now because our customers can't access the data. Our networks are too slow. Our IT is too slow. Or IT is all at home and they can't get to the servers. So I think that's been a huge, and the speed at which they need it is, everything is yesterday. Nothing is, we've got a month to plan for this. Like, we need to be on the cloud.
Yeah, you can just flip a switch, right? That's all you have to do.
Yeah, we can do it in 24 hours. But look at Zoom. I mean, if you look at a lot of education systems, they're like, we might think about distance learning. We're going to get some big application like Blackboard that's going to, and it crashes. Oh well, we'll always go to meeting. We'll use Zoom. We'll use Google Hangouts. What do we got that we have? Oh, whatever. People are just like making do, and I think a lot of the taboos around data, and around cloud and around interactivity, just gone. People are like, whatever works, we'll deal with security, the privacy later, which is maybe, that's the next testing round will be privacy, because everyone's throwing open the floodgates right now because you have to. But I think you're going to find that people may wish they hadn't, or maybe realize they have to then, roll back, or at least be able to figure out what they've done and how do they get their hands around it.
How to secure that now. That's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
There's a couple of comments in from Rob, by the way. I just want to mention. Rob says it's 2:25 in Salt Lake City too. I am not drinking yet. Bullet is good stuff, and he says
you should be.
You should be, mate. Yeah, there you go, Rob. Rick, have you tried Tin Cup, also from Colorado?
Yes, I have. Actually, okay. I'm going to do a little interesting thing. I've actually started a website. It's not up yet. It's coming up, but it's called ColoradoWhiskies.com. And basically, the idea, and part of the reason why it's not running yet is because I have to travel around to different distilleries and do filming. As I mentioned earlier, I like to do filming. So I'm going to be doing filming and interviews with the distillers, the distillery owners, talking about their whiskeys, talking about their rye. A lot of them do make vodkas and those kind of things, but I'm primarily focused on whiskey, American whiskey. So that site will cover all of Colorado and nowhere else. Tin Cup is a great drink. I've had that numbers of times. There's also, Bob, if you get a hold of it, there's two. One is out of Salida, Colorado, called Woods Tenderfoot Whiskey, which is outstanding. It's a single malt. And then there's there's one out of Buena Vista, Colorado, which is called Deer Hammer, and they make another really delicious, tasty whiskey. And then right here in Colorado Springs, I have 291, which is probably one of the most awarded whiskey brands out there. So if you get your hands on a 291, that's a delicious whiskey as well. There's so many. There's like 150 different whiskey distillers in Colorado, so I'm going to be quite busy. And hopefully I get a bunch of free bottles. This, by the way, I purchased with my own money.
Well, now we know where we want to do whiskey tasting.
There we go. Yep. I'll give you a tour.
Once it's all in,
we need to take a trip out west.
Yeah.
Between Bob and Rick, we've got a lot to see and taste.
Oh, Rick,
Yeah.
Rob says, I'll trade you a bottle of High West Rye for a bottle of Colorado whiskey.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get your contact information. We'll do it.
Yeah, Jessica's got Rick's and Bob. We can do a behind-the-scenes whiskey melding.
I'm down for that. I like Utah, too. That's a beautiful, beautiful state.
Mm-hmm. He's got mountain biking there and stuff. It's nice.
Oh, gorgeous.
Any more questions, Jessica, on the list?
Not any more that have come in for the event itself. We could talk a little bit about how teleworking generally has affected our daily work, both in software development and or testing and or creating a website and or marketing.
Sure. Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
All right, teleworking. I'm at home today. We've been very fortunate where we can do most of our jobs at home. So we've switched our morning meetings to virtual meetings and so on and so forth. I think we do miss the social aspects. One of the things we've done on the Mondays is had a tiled Google Hangout session where the whole company comes together. And one of these, I think I mentioned already, one of the nice things we've had is that because our company was distributed before, but not and equally, most people were in DC in the Silver Spring office. We have a couple of guys in Eastern Europe and a guy in Boston who are also involved with us, and so they were always like left out. So now we have this, meeting, and we're all in it together as equals. So I think it's democratizes the company and given some of the people who weren't in our main office, I think, an equal voice. But that being said, I think some people get tired of working from home. So one of the things that's been interesting is that there's some people who have a really good setup at home. They've got a dedicated room, a desk. They can work very productively and sanely at home. And we have some other people I know struggle to sharing a desk with their husband, or the kids are running around. And I think some of them have struggled a lot more with the telework. So what we're going to be doing at the company starting next week, because the Maryland is actually relaxed its stay at home to phase 1 reopening next week, we're going to allow people to come to the office on an opt-in basis, meaning that you're welcome to come to the office. We've got dedicated desks and rooms. We're lucky about that. We never know hot desking. And the rooms are originally, when we had the office, we're like, this office is older. It doesn't have open floor plans. It's not so sexy as WeWork. And now we're thinking like, wow, this is a great office. It's got nice desks that are separated, and it's like, wow, it's really worked out well for us. So we're going to have people have the option of working from the office or from home, but we're going to have separate work areas, and we've taped out on the floors like what 6 feet, and so we're moving to the beginnings of what I would say is a sustainable model. I think a few months ago, everyone was thinking like, when is it going to end? I can't take this anymore. So we decided to move the company to if the next 12 months is like this, how do we run the company where there's an office where people need it, they can work from home when they need it? What will get everyone through 12 months of this, not 3 weeks of this? And that's a very different way of thinking, because you're not dealing with a lockdown that you kind of like, just, I'm going to get through it and be done. It's like, I have to live with this for 12 months. And how do we make that work?
Yeah, from our perspective, at least at Software Test Pro, again, we've been working from home for a long time. James lives in Denver. He is younger than I am. Doesn't have any gray hair. He lives in Denver because it's a little more hip, a little bit more fun. Plus, it's near the Rockies. He's a huge Rockies fan. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the Rockies. Peggy lives in Pueblo. And the reason why she lives in Pueblo is because she takes care of her parents down in Pueblo. So she's got a house which she affectionately calls full of seniors. So she has to step away from her desk on occasion, and she types a little message in Slack and says, "Feeding the seniors." And then we all know that Peggy stepped away for a little while. Mm-hmm. But we do the same kind of thing. We have a weekly meeting. We have 2 weekly meetings. We have one on Monday morning and one on Thursday. Unfortunately, I'm only the one that turns on his camera. I think partly it's because my office setup is different. I've got a standing desk. I've got all sorts of stuff in here it feels like an office. But that's an important thing to mention when you're talking about working from home that people have a hard time with. This is my office. When I'm in here, I'm working. When the weekend starts, I leave my office and I close my door and I don't come back in, because you have to get in that mental state to where it's just like you're at an office in downtown Silver Spring. Yeah, you may have to go in on the weekend and do some work occasionally, right? We all know that. We all understand that. Or you might get an email on your phone. But I really, really do make an effort. And I tell my wife the same thing as she's been at home. I'm like, if you walk away for the weekend or the evening, after 5:30, 6 o'clock, whenever you're done, you do your best not to go back in there, because it's a hard thing to do to get you back into the mindset and then back out to be relaxed and at home. So I do all sorts of things like that too. I don't eat at my desk. I eat at my dinner table because I feel like I'm stepping away from work, just like I would go down to Five Guys and get myself a Five Guys burger. I'm not doing that here. So there's all kinds of techniques that I've used over the last 8 years that have helped me with that work-life balance. And I think I see folks are starting to get into that type of thing and starting to figure it out as this goes on longer and longer and longer. But it's an important thing to make sure that you also take care of your mental state as well as your work, because people are, and I've heard this from a lot of people, they're working more now than they ever have, just because they feel obligated to, because they're at home. It's like this whole thing, you know, like, oh, well, you're at home, you should be able to do this on Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. No, it doesn't work that way. I work from Monday to Friday is my hours, and you know, and then after today, it's like, you know, 2:30, 3 o'clock, I'm gonna be done. So
Sorry.
Or we'll be closed, and I'll be probably getting my barbecue really. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's really,
Yeah.
What about you, Jessica? How have you been finding telework?
When it first started, it was not a problem. It was easy. I was happy to be home. It made my commute's really easy anyway. I live literally less than a mile from the office, so I usually either walk or ride a scooter.
Nice.
But it just, you know, allowed me to have that time that much longer to get the work done in those hours. I have worked from home in my past job, so I'm relatively good about shutting it off, you know, when my time is up. But as it's gone on, I'm getting really tired of looking at my living room. You know, there's no change of scenery. There's no personal interaction with my colleagues. And I really miss that. And I, for one, am looking forward to the office reopening. I don't think I'll go every day or maybe, but to have that as an alternative, especially as the kids descend home from college, that will be a really nice opportunity to work in a peaceful environment as opposed to what is currently on my desk, which is a box on a radiator in my living room.
And I think also for me, it's also been the family impact. I mean, if you can see, I'm actually in the middle of our house right now, and it's, you know, it's very open, and everyone in the house can hear me. So I'm okay working here. This headphone doesn't pick up most of what they're doing, but they can all hear what I'm saying. They're getting a little tired of hearing me. And I have a loud job. I'm doing sales calls, demos. I'm doing these kind of things, webinars, a lot of loud things. And so when I started going in the office again, they were happy.
You know, one of the things that, you know, I heard you mention, Jessica, and this is something I've been talking to my wife about. There's a different, you know, you have your introverts and you have your extroverts, right? The people that are having the hardest time right now are the extroverts, because you're right. It's like you miss seeing people, you miss being around people. I'm the same way. I get energy from people, and I have to be around people to make that work. For me right now, it's wonderful. My wife is here. She's working, and my two sons, one of them unfortunately lost both of his jobs, and he's at home. My other one's still working a little bit, but he's here now, every now and then. My nephew's here. So these things help me, because I can walk around and bug people, you know, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? But for my wife, it's different, because she is a very introverted, focused worker. And I'm over here like goofing off, dancing, because I'm listening to a good tune while I'm trying to code a website or something like that. And she's looking at me like, really? You know, I'm trying to have a meeting over here. And I'm like, oh, sorry. So you know, you know, the difference there is it's really kind of interesting how different personalities are handling this differently as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people just need built for it. You know, my husband he works really long days now. He's one of those guys that, because he used to commute sometimes 2 hours each way to work, depending on which site he was going to. But now he can get on, he's usually on a meeting sometime between 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and he'll get off around 6:30 p.m. Yeah. But he's in his element, loves this environment. You know, it works out really well for him. But not, you know, I see people going by on the street, and I think, oh, I know that person, I should go say hi. Starved for the personal interaction, you know.
Yeah, my neighbors walk by on a
is.
regular basis, and we stand at the window and look out. We're like,
we've been having driveway parties. My mother's been doing that in Britain. Having all the neighbors, actually, they all get up at like 4 o'clock. The houses are all like row houses. They're all the driveways end, so they're all lined up along like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all having a glass of wine, and they're shouting over the wall, "Hey, how are you doing?" So they're having like a virtual 4 o'clock every day.
You know, one thing's I've actually been doing this for years out in my front yard. I roll my barbecue grill out front, and I put up a couple of folding tables, and I call the neighbors, and I'm like, bring over some meat and a side dish. And so everybody, you know, brings over some stuff, and then I actually have a large movie screen that I hang from in front of my porch, and I put a projector out in the yard, and when it gets dark, we watch a movie. Everybody, of course, we're probably going to do it this weekend, but everybody, of course, will now be spread out. But we'll have a movie in the front yard. You know, I think one year we did Blazing Saddles, and one year
wow.
we did Ghostbusters, and, you know, just fun movies, right? And so that's we're hoping to get back to that hopefully within the next couple of weeks. So
I think we'll get there.
yeah, absolutely.
Another compelling reason to go visit Colorado.
There you go.
Yes.
Never a dull moment.
We'll bring some meat.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
And whiskey from Maryland. I'd never thought of Maryland as a whiskey place, but okay.
Yeah, you look for it. Look for a craft rye. You might find one. I'm sure you will. They've got to have some there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look it up and let you know.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
There you go. Rick, before we wrap up, you had mentioned to me earlier that Software Test Professionals has a webinar program that you use to try to keep people engaged. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
I appreciate that. We do. James, I mentioned James's name, James Steiner. He's our webinar program manager. And then we have one of the community's well-known speakers, Smita Mishra. She generally hosts everything. Smita is an amazing tester. She's a speaker as well, and she volunteers her time to help us out with these webinars. And we bring existing speakers that like, for instance, I believe you guys had Raj on here last week on Tipsy testing. Raj has been speaking with us since about 2011 or 2012. And we love Raj. Raj is so full of energy. He's funny. He's entertaining. He's knowledgeable. Everything about him he's like the perfect package. And so he not only speaks for us, he's going to keynote for us at our next conference, but he also does an occasional webinar for us. And it's those little things that we bring these things together so that folks can actually have an hour out of their day, their busy day, to sit down and actually learn something. And so we really focus on educational topics, and they're free webinars. You just sign up for them, and you come to the webinar, and you can either listen to it live, or you can wait for me to edit the thing and then send it out to everybody in an email. So we also send out the on-demand email to everybody that signed up as well. And all of those, you don't even really have to worry about that. You can actually go on our website and look at under education. If you pull down past webinars, there's the full list of past webinars that we've done over the years is on there as well. Some really great topics in there. Lots of topics on automation, AI, performance testing, agile, you name it. So we've got cover the gamut, and we have a lot of fun doing it. And we plan on continue doing that as long as we can. I think it's a wonderful thing. We're probably gonna have Adam on there one day, I bet.
I was just gonna say if you need another speaker.
We always need you to speak.
You're happy to speak anytime. After a few glasses of whiskey, the content changes, but it's all good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
And where can people go to sign up for those?
So if you go to softwaretestpro.com, you'll see actually the first thing that you land on, there'll be splash screens of webinars just going by. You can click on them to register for them, or you can look in the education portion of the page, and it has the full schedule in there as well.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being with us. It was great to be able to catch up. I'm sorry we couldn't do it at the conference in person, but we look forward to the next live STPCon.
Yes, the next STPCon live.
There we go. We look forward to it as well. Thank you guys for having me on. I had a great time. And again, it's now 3 o'clock, so I might go take a nap before I have dinner.
There you go, and happy grilling.
There you go. Enjoy your weekend.
Bye, Jessica.
All
Bye,
right.
Vic.
Thank you, guys. All right. Bye-bye.